The film begins with a storytelling scene where we learn about a girl who received a red hood from her grandmother. She loved it so much that she never took it off, earning her the nickname Little Red Riding Hood. Often called Little, had a passion for traveling and exploring new places. Her adventurous spirit led her to many exciting journeys, each filled with unique experiences. One day, while wandering through the forest, she encountered a witch who loved performing magic, despite her spells sometimes going awry. Nevertheless, the witch remained enthusiastic about her craft, adding to the charm of Little's adventures. The witch said to Little, "I can do magic and change your shoes." But Little replied, "These shoes are fine. I don't want to change them." She knew the witch's magic often went wrong. The witch insisted, "You should trust me. I know how to do magic very well. The further you travel, the more you'll need good shoes. Let me give you a great pair." After the witch's repeated insistence, Little reluctantly agreed. But when the witch performed her magic, instead of getting better shoes, Little's shoes became dirty and muddy. Frustrated, Little tried to wash them in the water, but they got even more messed up. This made Little even angrier. As Little continued her search for her shoes, she met a girl who introduced herself as Cinderella. Little was surprised by the name, as it means wrapped in ash. He couldn't understand how a girl could be named after ash. Cinderella's appearance was also quite shocking. Her clothes were very old, and she had no shoes, with wounds on her feet. Little asked, "What are you doing here, Cinderella?" She replied, "My pigeon died, so I came here to bury it." At that moment, Little realized that Cinderella had a unique power. Cinderella had a special ability. She could see both the past and future of anyone she met. Upon meeting her, Little learned about Cinderella's cruel stepmother and two stepsisters who treated her terribly. They tormented Cinderella, denied her proper food, and never gave her new clothes. Little shared all of this with Cinderella, who was astonished that Little knew so much about her life. Overwhelmed, Cinderella began to cry, and Little comforted and encouraged her. Little then shared some exciting news. "Today, there's a dance party at the king's palace, held for the prince. All the girls from the city will be there, and the prince will choose a girl to marry," she explained. "That place is only for beautiful girls. And the girls who are less beautiful, who are in bad shape, those poor girls, there's no place for them at the party," Little explained. Hearing this, Cinderella felt very sad. The scene then shifts to Cinderella's family, her stepsisters and stepmother, who treated her terribly, making her work all the time. One of her stepsisters was particularly fond of eating and constantly thought about how to make herself more beautiful. While she was eating, a piece of cake fell from her hand and was quickly eaten by a pigeon. Furious, Cinderella's sister attacked and killed the pigeon. This was the pigeon Cinderella had come to bury. When Little discovered how much Cinderella wanted to attend the dance party, she decided to help her. The helpful witch arrived to perform magic on both of them, transforming their clothes into beautiful gowns. However, they still had no shoes. At that moment, another witch, whose magic was always perfect, appeared. She cast a spell and gave them both glass shoes, explaining that these shoes were unique to them. The magic, however, would only last for 24 hours. She warned them that they needed to return before midnight, or the magic would wear off, and they would revert to their original forms, revealing their secret to everyone at the party. Cinderella and Little now had beautiful clothes and glass shoes, but they still needed a way to get to the dance party. The first witch brought a large pumpkin and a mouse, and with a wave of her wand, the pumpkin transformed into a grand carriage. The mouse became a half-mouse, half-man driver for the carriage. As night fell, they set off for the party. However, midway through their journey, the carriage came to a sudden halt. Something had collided with it. The mouse driver stepped out to investigate and discovered a man lying motionless on the road. He began to panic, shouting that the carriage had hit and killed a man. Cinderella and Little hurried out to see what had happened. As they looked at the man, Little realized she didn't know who he was. When asked, Cinderella identified the man as the royal barber, known for his intricate haircuts and designs coveted throughout the kingdom. His skills were so sought after that people from all over the kingdom would eagerly seek his services, believing that a hairstyle from him could change their fate. Despite his importance, the man lay lifeless on the road. Concerned about leaving him there, Cinderella touched him and discovered that he had not just died recently but a long time ago. They decided to leave him where he was, making it appear as though his death had occurred due to the collision with their carriage. This decision was made to preserve the illusion of his recent demise. Fearing that stopping or involving the police would jeopardize Cinderella's chance to attend the dance party, they gently covered the barber's body with leaves and continued towards the palace. As they arrived, they encountered another girl barred from entering because she concealed her face and didn't meet the palace's beauty standards. Inside, the palace was bustling with beautiful girls, all dressed splendidly and eager to dance with the princes. Meanwhile, Cinderella anxiously worried about being recognized by her stepmother and stepsisters, who were also attending the party. Little reassured her, saying her beauty was so striking that no one would recognize her. At the party, Cinderella's stepsisters noticed her absence, and her younger sister, in hopes of catching the prince's eye, kept cutting her hair short, as it was rumored to appeal to him. Shortly after, the king arrived, summoning the prince to choose a companion for himself. The king instructed the prince that the girl he chose to dance with would be considered his choice for marriage. However, the prince's heart belonged to someone else, a girl who had been missing for a year without any known whereabouts. Despite his inner turmoil, the prince complied with the king's wishes and began approaching the assembled girls. When the prince laid eyes on Cinderella's stunning beauty, he was captivated. Without hesitation, he extended his hand to her for a dance, and Cinderella, in turn, placed her hand in his. Together, they gracefully began to dance, unaware of the magical evening that lay ahead. Cinderella was overjoyed that the prince had chosen her to dance with him. It was her deepest wish to marry him, believing it would transform her life. However, their blissful moment was abruptly interrupted when a soldier from the palace announced that the royal barber had been found dead, appearing to have been hit by a carriage and covered with leaves afterward. The news spread fear throughout the palace, as it indicated that the person responsible for the barber's death was among them. Cinderella and Little were gripped with fear, worrying they might be discovered. They feared their carriage would be inspected, revealing potential evidence such as bloodstains. Fearing the implications, Cinderella urgently summoned the rat-turned driver and instructed him to quickly clean the carriage. However, the rat was distracted by his love for cheese, which he couldn't resist indulging in at the party. Meanwhile, rumors circulated that cheese was found near the barber's body, suggesting the killer had a penchant for cheese. The rat, upon hearing this, grew increasingly anxious, contemplating his own involvement. Despite their efforts, palace guards thoroughly inspected every carriage, including theirs, but found no traces of blood. It became apparent that the barber's death wasn't caused by a carriage collision but had been staged to appear so. The suspicion lingered among the guests, heightening the tension in the palace. The guards, upon searching the barber's house, discovered various items, including long cut hair from girls. They reported to the king that the barber had exhibited peculiar behavior for some time, expressing a strong dislike for long hair. He would often cut off the hair of any girl he encountered with long locks. This revelation led to speculation that the barber's death might have been a result of anger from one of these incidents. Upon hearing this development, Cinderella and Little exchanged worried glances, realizing the gravity of the situation. The king ordered 5 girls, including Cinderella's sister who had recently cut her hair, to be brought forward. These girls were questioned about their interactions with the barber and instructed to recount their experiences truthfully. As the questioning began, Cinderella's sister stood first in line to explain her encounter with the barber. She recounted how she had visited him at 10 a.m., where he forcefully cut her long hair against her wishes. The barber had claimed that the prince preferred girls with short hair, which influenced her decision. In the midst of this, Little stepped forward, observing everyone closely and listening intently. Cinderella's stepsister continued, addressing the prince directly, asking if he truly preferred short hair and suggesting that, based on his preference, she should now be considered for marriage. The other girls with short hair joined in, vying for the prince's attention, emphasizing that their hair matched his supposed preference. The atmosphere grew tense as the girls sought the prince's approval, unaware of the deeper mystery surrounding the barber's death and its implications for the evening's unfolding events. As the tension mounted, Cinderella's sister stepped forward, and recounted what she had overheard earlier that day. She explained how she had been outside the prince's chamber in the morning and had inadvertently eavesdropped on a heated argument between the prince and the barber. According to her, the prince had confronted the barber about his actions, questioning why he was cutting off girls' long hair against their will. When asked about it, the prince clarified the incident, confirming that the barber had indeed visited him that morning to style his hair. During their interaction, the prince had noticed strands of long hair among the barber's tools and questioned him about it. The barber had bluntly stated his disdain for long hair, asserting that he believed girls looked more beautiful with short hair, and henceforth did not wish to see any girls with long hair. This revelation added a new dimension to the investigation, highlighting the barber's strong and controversial views on hair and beauty. It deepened the mystery surrounding his death and sparked further discussions among those present at the palace. The prince explained further, admitting that he had indeed argued with the barber over his controversial views on beauty. This admission raised more suspicions among those present. He then revealed that during the time of the barber's murder, between 1 to 3 o'clock, he had been sitting alone on a hill. Upon being questioned by the king about witnesses to verify his alibi, the prince reluctantly admitted that no one had seen him on the hill as there was no one nearby to confirm his whereabouts. This lack of evidence deepened the doubts surrounding the prince's innocence in the barber's death. It was known that the prince had feelings for a particular girl, which added complexity to the unfolding situation. As tensions escalated, the prince revealed that he deeply loved a girl who had disappeared after he proposed to her a year ago. Despite his efforts to locate her, she remained elusive. The prince continued, disclosing that the barber had been blackmailing him over this matter, threatening to expose everything to the king unless the prince provided him with a royal mirror. When the prince refused, the barber became enraged and treated him poorly. Upon hearing this revelation, suspicions intensified among those present, leading many to believe the prince had a strong motive to harm the barber. Consequently, the prince was arrested and taken away from the scene. However, Little noticed a thorn from a plant stuck in the prince's clothes, which she picked up. Recognizing that the presence of the thorn corroborated the prince's claim of having been in a jungle-like area, she began to consider the possibility that he might indeed be telling the truth about his whereabouts during the time of the murder. As the investigation unfolded, the girl who had been barred from entering the palace due to her appearance arrived as a witness for the prince. She confirmed seeing him sitting on the hill from 1 to 3 o'clock, providing the crucial alibi that cleared the prince of suspicion. Relieved, the king accepted the girl's testimony and ordered his son to be released and brought back to the palace. With this turn of events, the prince was no longer under scrutiny. However, as the clock approached midnight during these deliberations, Little and Cinderella grew increasingly anxious. They realized that their magical transformation was temporary, and if they did not leave soon, their beautiful clothes and glass shoes would revert to their ordinary forms. Fearing exposure, they hastily departed from the palace. In a flurry of urgency, Little and Cinderella rushed away, hoping to avoid the inevitable transformation that would reveal their true identities once the magic wore off. After their narrow escape from the palace, the prince attempted to chase after Cinderella to stop her, but she kept running. In her haste, Cinderella's foot slipped on the stairs, causing one of her glass shoes to fall off. Despite losing a shoe, they quickly boarded the carriage and fled before the magic's midnight deadline. As the clock struck 12, the magical glamour faded, returning Cinderella and Little to their ordinary appearances. They arrived home safely, where Little witnessed firsthand the injustices Cinderella faced. While her stepmother and stepsisters lived comfortably in the main part of the house, Cinderella was relegated to a small, neglected space. Later that night, Little overheard voices and followed them to discover Cinderella's other sister, the one who loved to eat and had not attended the party, hiding from the guards. She was being sought by the guards under suspicion of the barber's murder, adding a new layer of intrigue to the unfolding events. Cinderella's sister poured out her story to Little, explaining how she had received a threatening message from the barber demanding her hair be cut. When she arrived at the designated place, someone attacked her from behind, causing her to lose consciousness. Upon waking up, she found herself next to the barber's lifeless body, holding a stone in her hand. Feeling alone and panicked, she feared she was responsible for the barber's death. In tears, She confessed to Little that while she believed she might be capable of such a deed, she couldn't be sure. Little comforted her and encouraged her to continue explaining what happened next. The sister recounted her fear and desperation, admitting she moved the barber's body to a nearby jungle, intending to stage the scene to suggest he had been struck by a passing carriage. As she waited for an opportunity to dispose of the body, the guards arrived and apprehended her. After sharing her story with Little, the sister expressed a sense of relief at having finally revealed everything. The next day, as Cinderella was attending to her chores at home, the prince arrived with his guards. Little had already taken steps to investigate further into the mystery surrounding the barber's death. She had visited the barber's house and discovered additional clues. Besides the barber's blood, there were traces of someone else's blood as well, and the presence of large hair clasps caught her attention. Armed with her ability to perceive the past and thoughts of others, Little had pieced together more of the puzzle. Understanding the gravity of the situation, she sought the assistance of the palace officer to resolve the case. Now, as the prince and his guards entered Cinderella's home, the atmosphere was tense with anticipation. The investigation into the barber's death was reaching a critical juncture, and everyone's fate hung in the balance. As the palace officer presented the glass shoe, a crucial piece of evidence in the ongoing investigation, he explained that they were searching for the girl whom the prince had chosen at the party. According to him, the shoe would only fit the foot of the girl who had attended the event with the prince. When Cinderella tried on the shoe, it fit perfectly, confirming her identity as the one chosen by the prince. This revelation caused a stir among those present, as they realized Cinderella was the girl they had been seeking. Filled with relief and happiness, Cinderella expressed her gratitude to Little for uncovering the truth. However, to everyone's surprise, Cinderella then shocked them by confessing that she was responsible for the barber's death. She vehemently denied committing the crime, insisting she was innocent. Caught in a tense and pivotal moment, the truth surrounding the barber's murder remained shrouded in uncertainty, leaving everyone grappling with conflicting emotions and unanswered questions. Upon hearing Cinderella's defense, Little stepped in to clarify the sequence of events. She reminded everyone that on the day of the murder, Cinderella had been occupied burying her shoe alongside her deceased pigeon. This crucial detail provided an alibi for Cinderella, contradicting any possibility of her being present at the scene of the crime. With this new understanding, Cinderella continued her account. She revealed that the barber had targeted her due to her beauty, intending to cut her hair against her wishes. When she confronted him at his house, she grew furious upon seeing the scissors in his hand. In a fit of rage, she struck him with a stone, unintentionally causing his death. Fearing the consequences and wanting to protect herself, Cinderella devised a plan to shift suspicion onto her stepsister. She lured the barber to his house under false pretenses, orchestrating a situation that led to his demise. Upon arriving at the barber's house, I approached my stepsister from behind and struck her, causing her to faint where she lay. Seizing the opportunity, I strategically placed a stone near her hand, intending to frame her when she regained consciousness, believing she had inadvertently caused the barber's demise. Regarding the small piece of glass shoe, I revealed that a witch had visited me previously. Upon seeing my worn-out shoes, she graciously gifted me with new glass shoes. However, while navigating through the jungle, one of the shoes broke, and a fragment fell to the ground where Little later discovered it while I was in the midst of burying both my old shoe and my pigeon. Reflecting on those moments, I recounted how Little had encountered me during this pivotal time, followed by the arrival of another witch who enchanted our clothes but left our shoes unchanged. This led to the subsequent intervention of yet another witch who provided us with the enchanting glass shoes we wore to the prince's party. These revelations provided a clearer understanding of the sequence of events surrounding the barber's death and the subsequent complexities in my narrative, adding depth to the intricate chain of events and their profound implications. Even though the witch had already given me shoes earlier, she mistakenly provided me with another pair along with the new clothes, as she failed to recognize me in my transformed appearance. Little ingeniously resolved the case and identified the culprit. However, as the magic on Cinderella's shoes wore off, they reverted to their original form, revealing her injured feet and leading to her arrest. The prince, astonished by Little's astuteness, inquired about how she uncovered so much and solved the mystery. Little replied, "There are still some things left to share." Little approached the prince and shared her insights. She mentioned that when she visited Barber's house, she discovered traces of someone else's blood, distinct from Cinderella's, indicating older injuries. Little deduced that the prince's missing friend had also visited Barber, where she resisted him attempting to cut her hair. This confrontation resulted in her hair being forcibly cut, and a significant injury was inflicted on her finger. Little revealed that the prince's friend was none other than the girl previously barred from entering the palace, who had seen the prince on the mountain. The story concludes with Little revealing to the prince that despite her newfound beauty, she believed she wasn't deserving of his love anymore. The prince reassures her that his love was unconditional and unchanged. However, she confesses that she had not stopped loving him and was still deeply attached. Little's intervention prompts the truth to emerge, and they reconcile their feelings. They reunite, get married, and find happiness together. Little's role in solving the case is acknowledged, and she bids farewell as the couple's gratitude is expressed. With the mysteries resolved and their future secured, the tale comes to a close. Little prepares to embark on new adventures, leaving behind a story filled with magic, love, and profound transformations.